When it comes to goods, a fundamental principle in our negotiating strategy should be that trade at the UK-EU border should be as frictionless as possible. That means we don't want to see the introduction of any tariffs or quotas. And as the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union set out in his speech in Vienna last week, we must ensure that as now, products only need to undergo one series of approvals in one country to show that they meet the required regulatory standards. To achieve this, we will need a comprehensive system of mutual recognition. The UK will need to make a strong commitment that its regulatory standards will remain as high as the EU's. That commitment in practice will mean that UK and EU regulatory standards will remain substantially similar in the future. We will also want to explore with the EU the terms on which the UK could remain part of EU agencies, such as those that are critical for the chemicals, medicines and aerospace industries. The European Medicines Agency, the European Chemical Agency and the European Aviation Safety Agency. We would, of course, accept that this would mean abiding by the rules of those agencies and making an appropriate financial contribution. Lastly, to achieve as frictionless a border as possible and to achieve to avoid a hard border. Sorry, let me repeat what I mean by that. To avoid a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, we also need an agreement on customs. The UK has been clear it is leaving the customs union. The EU has also formed a customs union with some other countries. But those arrangements, if applied to the UK, would mean the EU setting the UK's external tariffs, being able to let other countries sell more into the UK without making it any easier for us to sell more to them, or the UK signing up to the common commercial policy. That would not be compatible with a meaningful independent trade policy. It would mean we had less control than we do now over our trade in the world. Neither Leave nor Remain voters would want that. So to conclude on goods, a fundamental principle in our negotiating strategy is that trade at the UK-EU border should be as frictionless as possible with no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. We believe this can be achieved via a commitment to ensure that the relevant UK regulatory standards remain at least as high as the EU's and a customs arrangement. We recognise this would constrain our ability to lower regulatory standards for industrial goods, but in practice we are unlikely to want to reduce our standards, not least because the British public would rightly punish any government that did so at the ballot box.